Harry Moskoff, thanks for being with us. You're an investigative archaeologist, you're a media producer, and you're also working on a project that you were privy to some information. Tell us about that.
Yes, this is my favorite project, latest and greatest, so to speak, amongst the other, all the projects I've done. But this is something I'm very much excited about. It has to do with the Vatican, with this whole museum exchange project. Other investigations I've done in my research have been more or less dealing with underground tunnels and location of different items, sacred artifacts. But this is something much more concrete. We're dealing with the Vatican and the museum and Byzantine items there, sacred ritual items, and bringing them out, bringing them out into the open, and a whole proposal. I've been to Rome 3 times already, and I know you were there as well, and it's very, very exciting. This is the latest.
Yeah. What is the proposal you have for the Vatican?
I was actually asked to do this proposal. Originally, going all the way back, I was approached by a lawyer, a Jewish lawyer that was doing a case, a high-profile lawyer. He was doing a case in France, and as part of that case, he was researching at the National Library of France for about a week or so. After that, what he found, being there in a week, and he had his documents, he came across this actual document saying that there were gifts given to the Pope. This is in the year 1204, and I actually have the exact quote over here of what was given, etc. Byzantine items given to Pope Innocent III by Baldwin I, who had just become emperor. And before that he was a knight, if you know the history during that period. And he wasn't on great terms with the Pope at the time. This is the year 1204, Pope Innocent III. And he decided to send some of these items, gifts, over to the Pope. And we're talking about things like incense shovels and silver trumpets and things, scrolls of that nature, in order to, I guess, get the relations going a little bit better. So that's how the whole thing started. I have this whole, exactly where to find this material. So, to make a long story short, when he approached me and said, "Look, we have this, can you look into it? You're an investigative reporter. This is what you do. Check it out." So I decided to go first to different areas. I went to the papal nuncio, the Vatican's ambassador to Israel, His Excellency Archbishop Ilana. So he was very helpful. He called it a noble cause. He got me into the Vatican once I was there, and also even the ministry here, the Ministry of, the Bureau of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of, let me get this right, Bureau of World Religion.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Correct, thank you. So they're also silently behind this, and also a bunch of NGOs, right-wing NGOs, etc. So I'm sort of unofficially official, getting in there and doing this. So the first time I was in correspondence with the Vatican, with the director of the excavations at the Scavi over there, and all these names were given to me originally by the nuncio, and I'm very thankful to him. He was right behind me, and essentially gave me the entrance ticket and said, why not go for it? And I also met with our ambassador there, our ambassador to the Holy See, and who said, there's nothing to lose, why not go for it? So once I got to answer your question, once I got to the Scavi department, so the director, who was very gracious to me, once I got past all the security.
We're talking, you're at the Vatican now.
Yeah, we're at the Vatican, and it's right beside the residence of the Pope, and all the internal offices, Fabrizio, they called it, of St. Peter's Basilica. And anyway, so I got in there, and he actually, after a great tour, an English tour, going all the way down to the necropolis, etc., so he said, "Listen, why don't you write a proposal?" He thought of it. Submit a proposal and for an audiovisual presentation, describing and actually, showing for the first time some of these objects, not just in that place, the necropolis, but also in the Vatican Museum.
So the idea that hopefully you'll be able to go down there with a camera crew or camera to be able to film some of these artifacts that probably hadn't been seen in centuries.
Big time.
By the public.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have, I mean, we have evidence to a certain degree right here. And I'll just, I mean, you know, the whole thing, there was a symposium called the Year 1200 by Francis Averill, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and there we say exactly what happened, what the actual letter, the document, that says Barazzi, master of the Temple of Lombardy, is charged by bringing to the Pope a real treasure, a marvelous treasure, and how it was blocked by a docker's strike, the whole actual history of it, and in French, exactly where this is recorded, and why and how that relates to actual treasures that were originally from Israel during that time, the Byzantine era.
So in the world today, right now, we're seeing sort of this idea of restitution, of using, or either revealing artifacts like this, or actually sending them back to the original owner. I think the Vatican did something with Greece.
Right.
Is that true?
Oh, big time. That was huge. That was a game changer. You know, I think it was 2008 where the Pope actually sent the first fragment of the Parthenon back to Greece, and then. Put it this way, we were able to find out that there were more items there, and now, unfortunately, it's not so easy to find these things out. Actually, just for the record, the Vatican neither confirms nor denies at this point having these items.
Right.
So that's important to mention. But having said that, you know, the gesture that he did that Pope Francis did by donating, quote unquote, the objects back to Greece is huge, and now the British Museum obviously is working on the same thing.
So right now we're at the point where you're hoping to get in with a film crew to see these elements, and you're talking about an incense shovel, silver trumpets from, say,
Scrolls,
the Byzantine era, or even before?
Possibly,
yeah.
Possibly, it's hard to say, but according to this document that was found in the National Library, it's just Byzantine, but you know, they called it, well, marvelous items that are a treasure. I won't go into, put it this way, it may be true. I'm not exactly sure how far back or forward, but in the meantime, it's for sure it's going to be could be a major event. Now, the first thing to do is this proposal that I submitted, and apparently we have cooperation, quote unquote, from the Holy See, which was written to me in an email by the Secretary of the Secretary of State over there. I think his name is Eminence. I got to get all this stuff right. His Excellency and His Eminence, the Cardinal Parolin, I think his name is.
So we're talking, that's the office of the Pope. Correct?
Yeah, that's exactly. That's the office of the Pope himself.
So in your experience as an investigative archaeologist, how significant is this?
Well, if it goes through, and so far so good, that's why I'm here with you, and thank you to CBN. It'll be a huge, huge step of opening up, you know, like the Archbishop said, not just for Israel and the Vatican, but actually for all humanity to see. You know, it's just, and that for the Vatican, trust me, that it won't be everything that they have. It'll just be a little bit coming out. So the first step is the proposal, and then the bigger picture, like phase 3, is already the museum exchange, where, you know, immunity agreements are signed. Of course, it's going to remain in the ownership of the Vatican for perpetuity.
In perpetuity.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
So yeah, that has to be there, and that's fine as far as I'm concerned. You know, just to get them so people can see this treasure is fantastic.
Yeah, and as the papal nuncio said, this is like something being revealed for all mankind. The people can enjoy these treasures and see the history.
For sure. It'll open up all kinds of Byzantinian, exactly what was happening there back with Baldwin, and even before that, as you mentioned, maybe with Justinian. All those centuries, this will be a good take on recording what happened. If we wanted to, we could come and get even more information. And I have that over here, which is an actual manuscript, I guess, that was written. And I think it's available online by the late Pope Benedict XVI, Pope Emeritus. So he was, he was a professor, he was an academic, very intellectual, and he definitely didn't have a problem with expressing his views before and after he resigned. So I have this document saying amazing things that I haven't read before that expressed his views vis-a-vis Israel, the state of Israel, and really essential items, replacement theory, all these things that he was, he had a conflict with in a way. He writes this down, and I think that he also knew, I didn't think of it personally, but I'm sure that people have gone to him to ask, listen, there's a trend of giving things, as you said, restitution. In this case, it may not be restitution, not yet at any rate, maybe one day, but and to get his view about what they have, what would be appropriate. In the end, Pope Francis did give this amazing gesture of giving them back, these items for the Parthenon, but he would have known, definitely.
So give us a timetable from here. Where does this go from here?
Okay, that brings me to the next. So basically, in essence, from here is another trip to Rome. And I actually sent a letter to the Pope himself, right over here, Office of the Papacy, His Holiness Pope Francis, asking for a blessing, like an actual blessing for this specific project. And if I do get that, I know it was submitted officially, and apparently we have some type of cooperation. So I think if that happens, then there's 1.1 billion Catholics in the world. It's a lot of people. So if that's the case, then for sure we have a lot of goodwill towards this, and a lot of people in high places that they really want to see this happen. I've learned. So that's why one of the reasons why I've come out finally and say, you know what, this is coming down the road, and if it does happen, ultimately, and maybe you can help me with this, because you're, I think, more diplomacy department. But if things work out, it'll pave the way. Really, it'll open up avenues between the Vatican, obviously, and the State of Israel, in terms of bilateral relations, and all people, I think, will be less intimidated. Maybe is the word, by the Vatican. It'll sort of open up these things, and which would be great in a way.
Yeah.
Let down some barriers. I hope it's going in that direction. That's the way I want it to go personally.
Yeah.
But once we get this signed, the next thing is bringing in the crew, and filming it, and yeah.
And tell us, how do you feel about being involved in this project?
I think it's well, we're at CBN, so I can say this. We're not. I think it's from God, really. I thank God for it. I'm not afraid to say that on the air, and that's what I love. I live and breathe this stuff, and for me, it's very fulfilling. I mean, I would do this. I could be here for an hour with you, talking about this stuff. But yeah, I feel great to be doing it. I hope it lasts. I can't seem to let go of it.
Yeah.
It's like the Queen said. They did an interview with the Queen, Queen Elizabeth, the late the second, and she said, once you put the crown on, the very first time in her coronation in the 50s, years later, she said, once that crown goes on, it never comes off. Obviously, like, so to speak.
Right.
Like, it just stays there, that she said in an interview. And I totally get that. Once that crown goes on her head, that's it. She's queen forever.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this will go forever, but I've been lucky enough to spearhead this project, and I'll do the best I can,
Yeah. Well, as they say here in Hebrew, Lahatzlaha, much success, and we look forward to the next report here coming from the Vatican and your investigation.
Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
Yes.